Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm bringing back the bedtime chats, all right? We're going to be talking about my goals because this YouTube channel is my YouTube channel, so we'll talk about my goals. Obviously, I've been in a deficit for quite a long time, and today I've decided, fuck that, I'm not being in a deficit anymore. No, look, in all seriousness, I just got to a point where, you know what, I'm really happy with the level of leanness that I am. I don't actually want to get any leaner, and I don't want to just continue the cut for the sake of it. So I am reverse dieting now, which is very fun, very exciting, but in my opinion, this can actually be much harder than the deficit itself, because when you're in a deficit, you have that clear-cut goal. You're so locked in. You're getting those cheeky little fucking dopamine hits of every time the scale weight goes down. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a new challenge for me, but a challenge that I'm very excited for. So calories have been upped. So in my cut, I was eating around 1,500 to 1,600 calories a day. I'm now going to be eating 1,750, which I appreciate is not much of a jump up. It's still probably going to be in a deficit, but I want to do this slow and steady and just slowly introducing more food in. And today, I don't know what came over me, but I decided that I really wanted some muesli. I have literally not had muesli since I tried my grandpa's muesli when I was maybe like, I don't know, 7 years old, and I thought that shit was nasty. But for some reason, I was like, you know what? I want some fucking muesli. And I put it in my yogurt bowl, and it was 10 out of freaking 10. Like, genuinely, being in a cut and just being into fitness in general, it really changes your taste buds. Like, it really does. Like, the stuff that I now love to eat, I would have fucking turned my nose up at shit like that back in the day. So I will update you this week on how this reverse dieting phase goes. Weighed in this morning at 54.1. Oh no, I need to check. I'll check. Yeah, it was 54.1. So yeah, I weighed in at 54.1, and we'll just monitor what my scale weight does with that, basically. Over the weekend as well, I did take a little bit of a maintenance break, brought my calories up higher just to help with the recovery, because I was finding that I was a literal sack of potatoes. I did not feel good, and like I mentioned in one of my videos about losing my period, I know that it's best not to push through those things, and I just need to listen to my body. If my body is feeling tired, fatigued, like it doesn't have enough energy, I'm going to give it some more energy. Just decided to say that, do you know what, I'm done. I'm as lean as I want to get, and I'm excited for this next phase. So we're going to be reversing out and then slowly going into a surplus, which I'm very excited about. I think as well, what you forget when you're in a deficit is that training is so fun when you're not in a deficit. Like, even today, after having some more calories over the weekend, the pumps I got in the gym, oh, chef's kiss. I was looking at myself like, yeah, I'm looking jacked. Look at my delts, look at my arms. It felt great. My energy in the movements was fantastic as well, which was so nice. It was just so nice being able to like walk fast on my treadmill walk, be able to really push myself, train really fucking hard, and not feel like a literal like sack of potatoes at the end of the session. That's basically the plan of action for this week. I don't think I have too much going on this week. It literally is just going to be the mundane shit. I'm running through my entire lower body session. This is one out of the 2 lower body days that I do. If you see me looking off to the side, that's because I've got the clips that I'm looking at, so I actually know what cues to give as the clips are coming on screen. This is more of a glute focus session, because the goal for me is always going to be to build glutes. Like, there is never going to be a point in my journey where I'm like, do you know what? No, my glutes are too big. I always want to build big, fat, juicy glutes, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I do actually start this session with hamstrings, however, because in terms of my physique, they are something that is lagging behind as compared to my quads and my glutes. So that is why I do them first. If there's something in your physique that's lagging behind, consider doing that first. You're going to have the most energy to actually give to that movement. And if I don't do this movement first, I end up not doing it at all, which obviously is not going to grow my hamstrings. So if there is something that you skip, maybe it's calves, abs, or like anything at all that you tend to skip, consider doing that movement first. Just get it done, dusted, out of the way, and then you can get on with the rest of the workout. I do my hamstring curls lying as opposed to seated, just because the seated hamstring curl is literally never available when I want it. So this is just better for overall consistency. I really think about driving my hips into the pad. What we don't want to happen is the hips coming massively off the pad, and then your lower back is really going to get involved in the movement. They say every exercise is a lower back exercise if you're not doing it correctly. At the end of the set, you will see my hips coming off slightly. It's not too excessive in my opinion. Really focusing on driving the hips into the pad does help with this. And then into hip abductions. I know this exercise used to get slated online, and I'm not gonna lie, I did fall victim to that. I used to slate it online too. I was influenced, all right, I was influenced. I'm ashamed to admit it. But I really like hip abductions variations. And the reason why I like them is because it's a very good stable exercise for the glutes and the glute medius. I find with a lot of single leg variations, so standing hip abductions, glute medius kickbacks, which are in my program, by the way, but it's quite hard to train them all the way to failure because that standing leg gets so much of a stimulus, and being seated, being on a machine gets rid of that. And yeah, like I'm always looking to optimize my plan, do the best exercises for my goal. But in my opinion, there is way more nuance than just, okay, this exercise is better, this exercise is worse. If you do an exercise that you absolutely fucking hate, like you hate it so much, it takes away all your enjoyment of going into the gym, and you can't train it anywhere near close to failure because of other factors, for example, stability, doing a less optimal exercise on paper that you actually get a good stimulus within the muscle, you can train really fucking hard, that you actually enjoy, is going to be, in my opinion, way more fucking optimal than doing the optimal exercise that you hate and you can't even train anywhere near close to failure. Do you know what I mean? I think that a lot of training optimization content does really miss the mark when it comes to other factors other than an exercise being objectively better than another one. So what you will notice in this exercise is that I've got these little pink yoga blocks because, you know, literally just a girl. I'm literally just a girl. We gotta go for pink. But I use this because I find that a lot of hip abduction machines bottom out way too early and you don't really get a good enough range of motion. So that's why I add those, just to give me some extra range of motion. I'm focusing on driving my knees out towards the corners of the room, and I'm slowly controlling that weight back down. I'm not bouncing out at the bottom. I really use the handles to pull myself down into the seat to create more stability in the exercise. And as these reps get hard, it gets a little bit shaky, you know? It gets a little bit shaky, do you know what I mean? Hopefully you get that reference.
Starting to get a bit shaky, you know? I mean, I'm a little bit weak.
Want an exercise where we can really train the glutes really fucking hard. You're going to get hard, shaky reps that feel very hard to complete, and that is what we want. It is good to be training hard. We need to stimulate muscle growth. We need to give the muscle a good enough reason to think, oh shit, that was really hard. I need to adapt and grow as a response to that. And then into potentially, I would say, my favorite exercise of all time, which is dumbbell RDLs. Now, the reason why they're my favorite exercise is because it trains your ego like nothing fucking else does. It feels so fucking good to pick up the heavy ass dumbbells from the bottom of the rack and rep them out. I love it. In all seriousness, the reason why I do it dumbbell as opposed to barbell is because I find that with barbells, in my gym anyway, the rack is just never available when I want it. So for overall consistency, I find that it's more realistic for me to use a dumbbell and setting them up on a bench instead. And for most people, because people do ask me like, why do you do it dumbbells? Is it better to do dumbbells than barbells? I would actually say that for most people, it's probably better to do barbell, because I do find people tend to pick up way less weight when it comes to dumbbells than they do with a barbell. If you are RDLing 90 kilos on barbells, but then you pick up the 20 kilo dumbbells, you're not training hard enough. And I don't know what it is about dumbbells, but people just end up using way less weight. So if you are doing it with dumbbells, if maybe you're in a similar situation to me where there's never a rack available for you to actually set up RDLs, make sure that you still use the same amount of weight that you would use if you were doing it with a barbell. But I found the best way to actually be able to lift a good amount of weight with the dumbbells is setting them up on a bench. Because if I was to put these heavy ass dumbbells, not to toot my own horn, but they're pretty heavy, 46 kilos. If I was to put these heavy ass dumbbells on the floor and pick them up, one, that is going to fatigue me before I even get into the set, so I'm not going to train as hard. And two, my lower back is probably going to get like a little bit of a stimulus doing that, and then that's more likely to be the limiting factor in the movement and not my actual glute. So if you set them up on a bench, you're lifting it from a higher standpoint. It means that it's less fatiguing than just picking them up from the floor. A couple of pointers with these is that take the time before you get into your set to really mentally prepare. Like if you are lifting heavy loads, if you are lifting a good amount of weight, you need to really lock into that set and almost psych yourself up to do it. You have to think, okay, how many reps did I get last week? How many reps am I aiming to get this week? And really just get in the zone of a set. Because in my opinion, that is going to take your progress to that next level if you are actually present, if you are really psyching yourself up and preparing to put maximal amount of effort into a set. Always make sure to use straps on this exercise because your grip strength is going to be way fucking weaker than your actual glutes are. If you think of the size of your wrists versus your glutes and your hamstrings, The glutes and hamstrings, they can lift a lot more than your hands can. So in my opinion, wearing straps is an absolute non-negotiable on this exercise. Because let me tell you, I could not be repping this out with my bare hands. Like, it would just not happen at all. And then when I get into my set, the first thing I want to do is focus on bracing. Now, this was something that confused the fucking hell out of me because everyone says, brace breath in, and I would be sucking in. That is not what we want to do, okay? You want to think about if someone was to punch you in the stomach, what would you do? You would brace and tense up your core. That is the level of tension that we want to maintain during our reps in this exercise. And then after that, that's when I think about my brace breath in. I think about breathing in through the nose and really expanding my core as opposed to sucking in. And then when I've got that brace, it's time to actually do the exercise. When I'm doing the exercise, I'm focused on keeping the dumbbells very, very tight to my legs. The further the dumbbells drift out from the midline of your body, the more back you're going to feel in this exercise. So you want to keep them nice and tight to your body. I focus on pushing the glutes all the way back, and the cue that I think about is top of the glutes to the top of the wall behind you. Make sure my torso follows the movement. My torso is moving in unison with the movement as opposed to my torso staying very upright and my hips going back, which is going to create an arch and a curve in the spine, which is going to place more emphasis on the lower back. So we want everything moving in unison. I only go down until my glutes are fully stretched. If I was to go down any further, that's just going to be the lower back that's doing the movement, and therefore that's going to be getting more stimulus. So only push your hips back until they literally cannot go back any further, and then that's when you come up in the movement. I have a slight bend in the knee. This is to disadvantage the hamstring. So the straighter the legs are in this exercise, the more hamstring you're going to get. And I make sure that I'm still pushing this exercise very close to failure. RDLs are an exercise where you don't want to take them all the way to failure because it is an exercise that has a higher risk of injury. And we do not want to hurt our lower back because what's that going to do? You're going to be out of the gym, you're not going to be growing your glutes. So I stop the set when I know I can't get any more reps with good technique. But it is worth knowing as well, you're always going to feel this exercise in your back. And this is what has allowed me to blow up my RDL and actually lift a good amount of weight. Really allowed me to make some serious progress in this lift, because every time in this exercise that I would feel my lower back a little bit, I'd be like, oh, okay, we got to stop. The spinal erectors are going to be a muscle group that is involved in this movement. You cannot ever take that out, but it's important to know the difference between feeling pain in your back, which is not what we want, versus feeling a little bit of a cheeky lower back pump, getting a bit of a stimulus in the back. So don't be afraid of that happening. And that has really allowed me to make some serious progress in this lift. We're always going to feel it in our lower back. We just don't want pain. I like to do a top set and a back off set. This is because I find that if I was to do the 46s for 2 sets, the quality of the second would not be very good. I like to do a slightly lighter weight on the second set. I'm still pushing very, very close to failure. I'm still making sure that I pick a weight that is challenging, but I'm doing slightly more reps. I'm doing a slightly higher rep range on that second set and a slightly lower one on the first set with the heavier weight. Now into everyone's favorite / least favorite exercise, it is Bulgarian split squats. I personally love these myself, and I think you should change your mindset around hard training, hard exercises. It is good to do hard things. Nothing feels better than completing a really hard set of Bulgarian split squats, feeling super accomplished, just feeling absolutely battered at the end and having to sit down for like 5 minutes in between legs. Like, nothing beats that. So lean into the discomfort, lean into the hard things in the gym, and your progress is going to just like 10x. Some pointers to actually feel these on the glutes. What a lot of people think about is just going straight up and down. And when you go straight up and down in this exercise, you're going to initiate the movement by driving the knee forward. And if we're driving the knee forward, we're getting in lots of knee flexion, which is going to place lots of emphasis on the quads. So you want to think about initiating the movement by pushing the hips back. So instead of going straight up and down, we're almost thinking about a diagonal line back. We're in this plane of motion as opposed to in this. And you will see at the bottom of the rep, my knees create about a 90-degree angle. If there was a smaller than 90-degree angle, it would mean that there is more knee flexion. I'm really making sure to actually control these reps. We want to make sure that we're actually letting the muscle do the work and not just gravity, not momentum. Control your eccentrics. And I make sure that I'm using straps on this exercise to ensure that my grip is not the limiting factor. We want the glutes to be the limiting factor, not our grip. And then lastly, I go into cable kickbacks. I would ideally do hip thrust, but I've been doing kickbacks because obviously I have been in a deficit for quite some time and I just found that energy was not the best. So I picked a movement that wasn't going to be as taxing, because on something like hip thrust, you are having to load up a pretty significant amount of weight, and I just found found that was taxing me. I wasn't able to train the muscle with good enough quality. So that's why I've been doing this. When I'm more recovered in this reverse diet, I will be doing hip thrusts instead. With kickbacks, and these are standard kickbacks as opposed to glute medius kickbacks, you want to think about a pizza cutter. So if you are cutting pizza, imagine this is the pizza. It's a nice circle, okay? In a standard kickback, we're cutting straight down the middle, whereas a glute medius, we're going to be cutting this way, as in your leg is going straight, as opposed to glute medius where it's going more diagonal. What you will see me doing is I am pushing and pulling on the cable machine. Now, this is to create a lot of stability. As I said with the hip abductions, a lot of people find that their standing leg gets a lot of stimulus on kickback variations. Now, that is because the standing leg is working very hard to stabilize your body. So what you want to do is try and take as much demand off that standing leg as possible by creating more stability in your body. So pushing and pulling really creates tension, creates stability, and that's going to mean less burn on that standing leg. It is worth knowing you can never get your standing leg out of the equation in this movement, but can try and take it out as much as possible in the movement. What I'm doing is making sure that I control that weight. I'm controlling my leg down, and I think a lot of people struggle with kickbacks because they take the kick in the kickback way too literally. You almost want to think about swinging your leg back as opposed to kicking. And the way I like to think of it is that the glute is doing the work. That is what's moving the weight, and your leg is just an attachment of your glute. So really all of the movement is coming from the hip. Just like when people give the cue in back movements is use your hands as hooks, that's kind of what you want to see the leg as. The leg is just a hook to the hip. I also make sure that my working leg comes in front of my standing leg. This is to ensure that I can work the glutes in a really good amount of range of motion. If you're just stopping when that working leg gets to the standing leg, I mean, that's fine, but you can get more stretch and therefore more stimulus on the glutes if you just let that working leg come in front of the standing. But yeah, that was the workout. I really do love this leg session. There is no better feeling than just feeling strong, getting a juicy, big glute pump.
Good morning. Do you know when you wake up and your eyes are just like not opening? This one is so irritated this morning, but I thought we could spend the day together on a Saturday, see what I get up to. It's currently 5:30 in the morning. I wake up so early just naturally now, like I've had no alarm on and I wake up early, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I like making the most out of the day. So yeah, let's spend the day together.
My morning routine is the exact same as it is on the weekdays. So I wake up, I shower, I make my breakfast, which is porridge. And how hilarious is it that I actually season my porridge, but I don't fucking season my chicken? It just enhances the flavor of the porridge, and obviously I want it for the electrolytes as well. I also weigh out my supplements because I find that most brands of creatine, the scoop is actually less than you need. So you need 5 grams of creatine a day. Most scoops tend to come at 3 grams. So I always weigh that out, take my multivitamin plus iron tablets, and then just tucking into breakfast and enjoying it. This is genuinely my favorite meal of the day. I love it so much. And then a very cute morning, I got ready and then met my friends for coffee at Lavender in Bristol, which is such a nice coffee shop. Here they are, my besties.
Hello and welcome to a little walk ramble. I am not gonna lie, I really didn't want to fucking go on this walk. I thought to myself, do you know what? How about we just sack off steps completely today? I want to get a big fat pizza as well, but I had to really check in with myself about that because I have to keep in mind my end goal, my end vision, and that is going to ruin the momentum that I've built up over these however many weeks of dieting that it's taken me to get to a physique where I am super happy with. I think when we get to the end goal of a specific phase, we can get complacent because we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. But if I keep nailing my steps, nailing my nutrition, I am going to see an insane amount of growth, because after you've completed a dieting phase, your body is in a really good position to actually shuffle more nutrients to be actual muscle mass, actual lean body mass, as opposed to fat tissue. And I want to actually make some serious progress when it comes to muscle growth this next year. And I'm not saying over the past year, I haven't made any muscle growth progress, but ultimately it has not been the progress that I've wanted to make and not the progress I know I'm capable of making, because after dieting phases, I'm not gonna lie, I did take my foot off the gas slightly. I got a little bit too complacent. I would go out with my friends a little bit too much, or not even too much, but when I did, I take it a little bit too far, and that had a knock-on effect on the week after, because when you're taking it too far with drinking, it is very hard to eat in according to your goal the next day. When Monday rolls around, it's very hard to get yourself to the gym, and you just blunt that momentum there. So I have to really check in with myself about these kind of things and keep these things as non-negotiable, because that is exactly what they should be. They're non-negotiables, and if you have a goal that you are serious about, you have to take it seriously. Like, you have to take it seriously, and that is what I'm doing. So I'm out here getting my steps in, and like I say time and time again, the hardest thing is getting yourself out of the door. The hardest thing is actually building that momentum to go outside, and when you're there, when you're doing it, is absolutely fine and dandy. It really is. But I just wanted this to serve as your reminder that the people that you see on social media, maybe with the physique that you want or that you feel inspired by, I don't know, I'm assuming a lot thinking that you're inspired by me. Maybe you're like, you know what, she's not very fucking inspiring, Jesus Christ, I wouldn't want to look like her. But hopefully you know what I mean. Anyone that has built up a physique, they're always going to have days where they don't feel fucking motivated. I did not feel motivated to do this, but I've just got better at doing these things regardless. Don't assume that everyone doing the things that you feel like you can't do or that you don't feel motivated to do, don't assume that it feels easy for them, because it does not always feel easy for me. I'm sure there are some people that every single day they want to go out and do their steps. They want to do all the things that are going to get them to their goal, but that has never been the case for me. Probably never will be. I don't want it to come across as that I'm just always so miserable doing all these things that I don't want to do. A lot of the time, I really enjoy it. And I do enjoy it when I'm out here. But sometimes our mind can be the thing that holds us back. And you just have to really remind yourself of the end goal and really remind yourself of the fact that the hardest thing is getting yourself out the door. And when you're there, it's great, it's lovely. I mean, it's not exactly the nicest day. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's nice being out in the fresh air and just seeing life go by. Because again, get in our heads so much about day-to-day life. It's just nice to, as they say, touch some fucking grass. Realise you are but a small fish in a big, big world. Hello, happy Sunday. We are out on a rainy walk. I wanted to share a little piece of advice when it comes to getting out in the rain. You do have to remind yourself that literally no one is forcing you to do this. Like, no one has got a gun to your head forcing you to do anything in your fitness journey that you do not want to. You have to remind yourself of the reason you started this fitness journey was because, well, you obviously had a goal that you wanted to achieve. Also, excuse the state of my hair. You had a goal that you wanted to achieve, and you said to yourself that you are prepared to put in the work necessary to get you to your goal. And if you're always complaining about the fact that you have to walk in the rain, and look, I catch myself doing that sometimes. I don't particularly love walking in the rain, but if you keep complaining about every single task that you have to do that is going to get you to your goal, remind yourself that this is your choice. This is your choice, and it is a privilege to be able... I'm just going over the road while there's clearly a car turning in, but who fucking cares? I swear to God, it's such a bad habit I've picked up since going to Italy. It's just like, I'm just going to walk across the road. But it is a privilege to be able to do these things, to be able to choose to go out in the rain, to be able to actively eat under your body's energy needs in a deficit, you know, to be able to choose to do that to get to a goal. So always remind yourself of that. This is a choice. It is a privilege to be able to choose and to do these things out of your own free will. Look at the bigger picture. There are plenty of people in this world that do not have the choice about how much or how little they eat, if they want to go out in the rain or not. I think perspective can really be everything, and just reminding yourself of this is a goal that you chose to do.
And that is it for this week's vlog. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, make sure to like and subscribe. It really means a lot. But I am hoping that in next week's video I film more clips. My life is very similar day to day, so I need to try and find a way to actually make it look a little bit more exciting and just talk through some different things. But yeah, I will catch you in next week's one, and have a great week.